Welcome to the Real Estate Update Podcast, where we focus on homebuyer education because knowledge is power. I'm your host, Paul Centopani, and joining me today is Shawn Yerkes, Group President of Financial Services at Genstone Companies. Shawn, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Shawn, how long have you worked in mortgages, and what exactly does Genstone do?
Yeah, so I've been in mortgages, over 25 years now. And the Genstone companies are really kind of a holistic real estate set of companies, really geared towards helping, home buyers and or investors through an entire real estate transaction. So if you look at the Genstone brands, we've got every step of a transaction taken care of, whether that be our national realty business. We've obviously got originations. We've got an insurance company. We own a title company. And then we also, if you're an investor, we've got property management, property preservation, construction, and so on and so forth. So we've tried to kind of run the full gamut of the entire real estate transaction.
Yeah, it sounds like a soup to nuts operation. And this episode is a call to arms. We're going to talk about adjustable rate mortgages, how they work, and if they can be a smart choice for you. So let's break them down. Shawn, if you look into getting an ARM or an adjustable rate mortgage, you'll see them with different numbers accompanying 5/1, 7/1, 10/6. What do those mean?
Yeah, so the first number is the length of time for the initial fixed period, or the teaser rate that they would call it. So if it's a five, if it's got a five in front of it, so if it's a 5/1, it's a fixed rate for 5 years, and that fixed rate is made up of the index, which is the SOFR rate, which is the secured overnight financing rate, added to it a margin. And so, as you're essentially locking in that exact rate at that time for 5 years. The second digit then is the adjustment period. So if it's a one, it's an annual adjustment. If it happens to be a six, it's a 6-month adjustment, for instance.
Gotcha. Okay. And, how much do those terms vary?
Well, I mean, obviously the SOFR rate's moving all the time, right? So just like any other mortgage rate, you have to lock your rate on a daily basis or intraday basis because they're always moving. The rate is really tied to that index. So the index, again, is not really negotiable. On the margin side of things, it's pretty standard by most investors. There is a bit of negotiation that can happen depending on the type of loan. So if it's a non-QM loan, for instance, you may have a little negotiating power. But, when it comes to Fannie Freddie, they pretty much, they designate what that's going to be.
Gotcha. Okay. So when your rate resets, depending on your term, as you just explained, that new rate is based on.
So whatever your margin is fixed, right? Because that's locked in at the time of your initial loan. And then as it starts to adjust, it just depends on where that SOFR rate, the index rate is, right? So if the index rate goes up, your adjustment would go up. And obviously, if your index rate goes down, your adjustment could go down. Now, there are limitations on how much your rate can go up. But yes, generally speaking, it will adjust with that SOFR rate.
Okay, cool. And it could go down. You could have a lower rate than before.
Yes, it can go down.
And do ARMs have the same borrower qualifications as fixed rate mortgages?
They are similar, but generally investors are going to want to be a little bit tighter on the debt to income ratio because they really want to make sure that if your rate does adjust up, all these mortgages generally do have a cap rate, meaning they can only go up so much over the life of the loan, but they really want to make sure you can still afford that cap rate payment if it's needed. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, they're generally underwritten in a very similar manner. Obviously, Fannie and Freddie have their own guidelines, very similar to a 30-year fixed. They don't really vary above, say, 43% on your debt to income ratio, whereas on a 30-year fixed, you might have a little bit more wiggle room. But otherwise, assets and those sorts of things are going to be very much the same.
What conditions generally make it a good time to get an ARM?
Well, I mean, it really comes down to, kind of the interest rate spreads, right? So I think there's a misnomer that when the Fed lowers or raises rates, it's directly correlated to mortgage rates, right? And that is not the case. Generally, when the Fed adjusts rates, that's a very short-term rate, but mortgage rates generally move more with inflation. So if there's ever a scenario where, maybe the Fed is lowering rates, right? Or inflation continues to go up, so longer term rates are continuing to increase. So raising long-term rates while, maybe the shorter term rate stays the same or drops, that spread between the two as it widens puts you in a position where an adjustable rate mortgage might make sense, right? Because you're going to be locking in a shorter term rate, whereas a 30-year fixed loan may have a little bit higher rate because those longer term rates are still kind of moving with inflation, if that makes sense, to the upside.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And we actually did an episode on the Fed and its relationship with mortgage rates. So check that out if you want more information. Is it a good time right now, or would you recommend an ARM to certain borrowers in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is borrower specific. There are obviously benefits to having an adjustable rate, right? If you can qualify for a new home, for instance, with the debt to income ratio of 43%, you can obviously get a lower rate, which gives you a little bit more buying power, right? So that's the upside of having an ARM if you're a new home buyer. But you do want to make sure that you can afford what that adjustment payment might be in the future. And I think that's really key. And so you have to look at the profile of the borrower, right? Generally younger borrowers, they're probably going to expect to make more money in the future, right? If they know that their income's going to increase, maybe it makes sense, or they're looking to stay in the home for a shorter period of time, or at least for the period of time of the adjustable rate mortgage. So if it's a 5-year mortgage and they plan on moving in 4 years, maybe it makes sense, right? Because they will never get adjusted on. So it's really up to the borrower. But in the market in the last year and a half, we have seen adjustable rates. They're running 0.75%, generally lower than a 30-year fixed. So you sure can get a lower rate and a lower payment.
Okay. And yeah, I think you said something really important in there, that you should plan, at least mathematically, for that high end scenario, to make sure you can still afford the mortgage if that comes to fruition. And I know applying for an ARM depends on your personal risk aversion, but similar to if you could cut 75 basis points off your mortgage with refinancing, is there a general guideline to follow on when borrowers should look into getting an ARM versus a fixed rate?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it comes down to, not only what is your risk, but what does your situation look like if you wind up in an adjusted mortgage, right? So say property values drop and you can't refinance. That's a very real problem or possibility, right? In 5 years, for instance. So if that happens, are you going to be comfortable paying an adjustable rate mortgage that could be at a higher rate? And so, I think that's really important. And again, it just comes down to the profile of the person. What's your exit plan, right? Are you going to sell the home? Are you planning on staying in it, but you're comfortable with the payment? Or are you really putting yourself at risk if the rates were to go up and the property values were to go down?
I think people are wary of ARMs since they were a driver to the 2008 housing crash, and just not having that solidity in general, versus the fixed rate, and you know what you're getting. Are they any different or safer now?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, look, I was around back then, unfortunately. So showing my age a bit, but back, prior to the crash, the guidelines were a bit more loose, right? Qualifying with income was a lot easier in many aspects. I mean, you had things like stated income, stated asset loans where you could still get an adjustable rate. Nowadays, you do have to prove your income, right? And you have to stay within a debt to income ratio threshold. But also, I think ARMs have been structured a lot more by investors to limit risk, not only for themselves, but for the borrower, right? So you don't have these negative amortization loans, for instance, anymore, which was a big deal back in, 2007, 2008, where you can actually be accruing interest, adding on to your principal because you're not even paying the minimum interest rate, right? So I have not seen those type of products in quite some time. And so I think that, the big risk is just understanding how much your loan can adjust, right? Because again, there's a cap now and those caps are a bit tighter. So maybe it's 5% maximum adjustment over the life of the loan. And there's usually a maximum adjustment per adjustment period. So at least you kind of know what you're getting into and you can do the math in advance.
And Shawn, can an ARM be a hack for increasing your home buying affordability?
Yes, it can be. Look, again, people need to be careful about being house poor, right? I hate to use that term, but with property values continuing to go up, people want to stretch what they can afford. Using an ARM will help with that, right? If you can qualify based on your income, because you're getting a lower interest rate, obviously you can purchase, your buying power goes up. You can have a higher loan amount, which allows you to borrow more and raise the cost of the home that you can buy. So in that sense, yes, it definitely helps. I mean, obviously you still have to have the down payment. And again, you need to qualify from an income perspective, but it will put you in a position to increase your your purchasing power.
Okay. And, I think you covered a lot of this next question, but uh, to summarize, what are the downsides of an adjustable rate mortgage?
Well, obviously, as I said earlier, right, the risk associated with rates going up and property value or property values going down, right? If you can't get out of that mortgage, are you equipped to make the payment, or do you have an exit plan, right? Are you willing to sell the home at a lower price than you paid for it? Maybe lose some equity because you can't afford the home. I think you just really need to weigh the risks associated with the rewards, right? If you're taking out an adjustable rate mortgage for 5 years or 7 years or even 10 years, what is your exit plan, beyond that timeline? If you're already kind of putting yourself in a really tough financial position and you're not, you're in more of a W-2 fixed income kind of scenario where you're not expecting to make, exponentially more money by the time the mortgage is adjusting, what are you going to do? I think you really need to think through, do you plan on selling the home? Is your plan to relocate? Or are you comfortable knowing that if the payment were to go up, God forbid, you're still financially comfortable to make that payment?
Can you negotiate your rate or the adjustment caps like you would your rate with a fixed rate mortgage?
Yeah, to some degree you can. The margin is technically always negotiable. Granted, from what we see, most investors are pretty set on those. The index is not negotiable for the most part, right? The index is the index, but the margin would be negotiable prior to closing. At that point, you are tied to whatever the adjustment period is, as well as the maximum adjustments per period. So, whatever the cap is on that loan, you would be tied to whatever's in your original note.
Okay. And when does it make sense for a borrower to refinance out of the arm?
I mean, again, if you can lower, honestly, if you could break even on your payment, or you're comfortable knowing that by switching into a 30-year fixed and you're going to stay in the home long term and you're comfortable where rates are at that moment, it's always worth it to eliminate the risk, right? The whole point of taking the adjustable rate initially was to have a lower payment up front than what you would have had in a 30-year fixed. So if you're in a position where a 30-year fixed can kind of solve that problem long term and put you in the same position, then you should absolutely consider it. Or if your adjustment period's coming up, right? And you personally are kind of bearish on interest rates, you think they're going to go up long term, it always makes sense to lock in so you don't have to stress about what the potential downfall could be. Right. Again, property values are sort of that other piece of this, right? If you see a lot of people today are only putting 3% down, 5% down on a home. If you see a 10% decline in a market on property values, now you're in a position where you can't refinance unless you put more money into the loan. So, really thinking through what is the risk versus the reward, right? Now, a lot of people do take out arms because they want to pay off more of the principal early, and that's great. So the question is, can you continue to do that based on your income and still lock in a long-term rate? That's really where I would kind of think the rubber would meet the road.
Okay. And kind of a general housing market question. ARMs made up about 8.2% of the purchase market in 2025, and that was more than double 3.9% in 2021. And obviously, we've seen mortgage rates rise a lot since then in that time. Does the ARM share typically rise during the times of higher mortgage rates?
Yeah, it tends to because the spread widens, right? So when rates were in the twos and threes, there's really nowhere for rates to go, right? The short-term rate wasn't much lower than the 30-year fixed. So there was really no point in looking at an adjustable rate because in many cases, you just weren't going to really reap any benefits from doing it. The other piece of it is, investors at those lower rates, they're not really at risk of being refinanced. So the spread was pretty flat, right? They were willing to give really low 30-year fixed loans to lock in that rate. Now, as rates are going up, you're starting to see that spread widen, right? So you can definitely lock in an ARM better than you can a 30-year fixed, right? You can, again, let's call it 3/4 of a point. I'm not sure where they are today, but you're generally looking at a substantial savings on a larger loan specifically. And so, at that point, that's why you're starting to see more people come into the market and take out adjustable rate mortgages, right? And a similar product would be like a buy down as well, right? A lot of you hear about people buying down their rate for the first couple of years using the equity from the seller of the property. It's not an adjustable rate, but it is a very similar concept, right? You're getting a lower payment initially.
And Shawn, final question for you. What is your top advice for first-time home buyers right now?
Yeah, I mean, understand your profile, right? What do you do for a living? How do you earn your money? Do you expect to see an increase in your income over time? So that's a big piece, right? Maybe you're willing to use an adjustable rate to qualify for a more expensive home because you know that by the time that adjustment changes, your income should have increased to cover the difference, right? In worst case scenario. You also have to look at how much money are you putting down on a home? If you're going to put down the minimum, are you putting yourself in a position where if the property value does drop on you at the point where you have to adjust, now you're stuck in the adjustable rate and you can't get out of it. So, I think it's really just understanding your own personal profile. What does your future look like? Also, what do you think about interest rates, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. Everybody was saying something different 6 months ago than we're saying today. So who knows what's going to happen? But I think you just need to make sure that you personally have an exit plan and you know what worst case scenario looks like and that you're willing to be able to kind of ride that out.
All right. Yeah. Get your plan together, figure out your profile, and think about what risk you want to take. That's all sound
You
advice
got
to
it.
me. Shawn, thank you so much for being our guest and lending us your insights. We'll catch you all next time.